Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. You can follow me there. And we finally have some 49ers trade news. The Niners have traded for former New England Patriot edge rusher Keion White. We're going to break down the trade and White's career so far on today's episode. And of course, stick around until later in the show because I want to talk about the four most likely trades around the league heading into the deadline. Before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below, leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into it. So first, as I just mentioned, Keion White is the newest San Francisco 49er. The Niners sent a 6th-round pick this year to the Patriots for Keion White and a 7th-round pick. So it was just a swap of 2 late-round picks. Very cheap for San Francisco. Patriots giving up a draft pick in order to get one back for Keion White. White was a former 2nd-round pick out of Georgia Tech back in 2023, which means he is under contract for the rest of this year and then also next year as well. That was something that the 49ers were absolutely looking for across the trade market so far. Not only guys who can help this year, but who can stick around and help next year for relatively cheap. White, of course, is still on his rookie contract. White, he's a freak athlete, man. He's explosive. He's got a big body. He's got long arms. He's 285 pounds, but he can scoot. He can really move. He's active. He gets his hands up, especially on screens. He can bat passes down frequently. And he wins against an offensive lineman with power and athleticism. He had 5 sacks, 45 pressures last year. He's a good run defender, too. He can do plenty of those sort of stunts and loops that Saleh likes. And at his best, I think Keion White is sort of an inside-out Eric Armstead type of stuff. Maybe more analogous to like a John Franklin Myers, who Robert Saleh had back with the Jets. Sort of a Mykel Williams variant, if you will. But I think White's pass rush is certainly more defined than Mykel's. And I think he's a little bit more athletic as well. The only issue is, he was a healthy scratch last week for the Patriots. He was drafted by Bill Belichick. I believe that was Belichick's final draft class with New England. And he sort of fell out of the rotation once Mike Vrabel took over. His strength has been his versatility, his ability to move around, to play edge, to play interior, to play defensive tackle, to play all sorts of those positions across the defensive line. But so far this year with Mike Vrabel, they've pretty much exclusively had him playing edge, and he has not been fantastic. So he's been relegated to the bench. He hasn't played very much this year, 0 sacks on the year, and the Patriots said, you know what? Not a fit for the defense anymore now that Vrabel's stepping in, so they might as well move him to a team like the 49ers, who could not only really use an edge rusher, but they could make better use of White's talents. This is certainly a guy with a high ceiling, right? He's got all the athletic tools. He is a freak, man. I mean, really, if you have a second, after this video, go watch some Keion White highlights because his closing speed is ridiculous for a defensive end. He can really burst. And not only when he's rushing the passer, right? He can get out into the flat and track down a running back, blow up a screen. He's a really useful player, and I'm really excited to see him in the 49ers uniforms, wreaking havoc on offensive lines. So what do you think of the 49ers trading for Keion White? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'm super excited that the Niners made this move. I'm pumped up about it. White's still a young guy. He's got a lot of potential still in the tank. And I think with a defensive coach like Saleh, who can really utilize his skill set, we might have a potential steal on our hands. This reminds me a lot of the Charles Omenihu trade way back in the day. Omenihu was a young player who didn't really get much run in Houston. 49ers traded for him at the deadline, and he broke out. He really did. That 49ers season and a half or so that he played with us really earned him money in this league, and I think we could see something similar with Keion White here. Now, let's move on to our next segment. Let's look around the league a little bit. The Niners are not the only ones making trades. The Patriots actually made 2 trades today. They sent Keion White to the Niners, obviously, and then they traded safety Kyle Duggar over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But who else could be making some moves? I've got 4 trades that I think are the most likely to happen at this year's deadline. And I'm going to start with number 1, Jacoby Myers to the New York Giants. I think the Giants have been sniffing around. They've been looking for wide receiver help. With no Malik Neighbors this year, you've got to get some support for Jackson Dart, man. And Myers has been very clear that he wants out of Las Vegas. He requested a trade all the way back in August, and it was not honored, but it's clear that he still doesn't want to be there. He wants to play somewhere else. Myers is a pretty good player. He's, very reliable, kind of a safe, solid wide receiver too. And he's a guy that you could definitely keep on the team and keep as a part of the offense once Malik Neighbors does get back. This is not a replacement for Malik Neighbors. So I think Jacoby Myers to the Giants would be a nice move. Maybe for like a 4th round pick, maybe a 5th round pick. Would be a nice addition for the G-Men. Next, I want to talk about the other New York team, the New York Jets, trading Will McDonald to the Eagles. The rich would get richer with this trade. The Eagles have been trying to add to this pass rush for quite a while. And this mentality has worked. I mean, they won a Super Bowl with it, but they've tried adding that sort of elite speed rusher that they've had with Hassan Reddick. They've tried adding it and replacing Reddick with Bryce Huff. Didn't really work. Joshua Uche. Didn't really work. Azeez Ojulari. Hasn't really worked. Nolan Smith. He's on IR right now. They're bringing Brandon Graham out of retirement. He's, I guess going to play for them. The Eagles are sneaky kind of thin at edge rusher with Nolan Smith injured. Jalix Hunt's been pretty good for them, but I think they could certainly use a guy like Will McDonald. And of course, McDonald is one of the hottest names on the market at any position. So I think the Eagles would jump at the opportunity to add a guy like McDonald. And with the Jets, I really think that either McDonald or Jermaine Johnson gets moved. And I think I would, if I'm a different team looking to trade for one of those guys, I think I would rather trade for Jermaine Johnson, which means I think Jermaine Johnson has more value. And therefore, if I'm the Jets, I think I would rather keep Jermaine Johnson and trade Will McDonald. McDonald's a little bit older. He's got some higher sack numbers, but has been sort of a lower pressure guy than Jermaine Johnson. So I think Will McDonald will probably be on the move, and I think the Eagles are a great spot for him. Next up, I've got Tariq Woolen, cornerback from Seattle, headed to the Raiders. Woolen has had not a great season so far. He obviously gave up that game-winning touchdown to Jake Tunges in Week 1 against the 49ers. Shout out to Tariq Woolen for that. I loved that play. But he's been getting outplayed by not only Josh Jobe, who's been fantastic this year for Seattle, but Darion Kendrick as well. Seattle has, I think, been moving cornerbacks around. They've had injuries. It's been a really weird season for the Seattle secondary, and they keep winning in spite of that. But I do think that Woolen, his time is running out in Seattle. I think he needs a bit of a change. Now, he was drafted by Pete Carroll, right, who, of course, now coaches the Raiders. And Carroll is all about reuniting with his former players. He traded for Geno Smith in the offseason. They just signed Tyler Lockett, former Seahawk. So I could totally see Pete Carroll and the Raiders jumping on the opportunity to go get Tariq Woolen, especially considering the Raiders really need cornerback. I mean, they're playing Caillou Blue Kelly out there on the field. It's just not good enough. Even a guy like Woolen, who's been very up and down over the course of his career, would step in and be an immediate upgrade for Vegas. So Tariq Woolen to the Raiders, that one seems very obvious to me. And now my last trade, it's wide receiver Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. And I think he goes to the Bills. The Bills could certainly use a guy to help stretch the field. You've got, Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid who like to work in that intermediate area of the field. But Shaheed could be a real deep threat. He could add that speed that the Bills have not had since Gabe Davis. And I think the Saints are probably looking to move off some of their older guys. The Saints just announced that they will be starting Tyler Shuck at quarterback, which to me signals they're not necessarily trying to win games anymore. I think Spencer Rattler has been pretty good for the Saints with context considered. So the fact that they're playing Shuck makes me feel like they are just fully evaluating what they have in their roster. And I think if you're going to do that, you should probably move on from some of your veterans like a Rashid Shaheed. So those are my 4 trades that I think are most likely to happen heading into the deadline. Jacoby Myers to the Giants, Will McDonald to the Eagles, Tariq Woolen to the Raiders, and Rashid Shaheed to the Bills. What do you think? Which of these trades is the most likely to happen? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, I've got some more 49ers edge rush news. This is not as good news as the Keon White trade. Trevis Gipson was signed off of the 49ers practice squad to the Carolina Panthers active roster. Gipson had no more elevations off the practice squad, so the 49ers, if they wanted to keep him, would have had to give him a 53-man roster spot. They elected to not do that, but Carolina said, you know what, we'll take a shot on him, and they signed him off the practice squad. And listen, I've been pretty pro Gipson on this channel, but he has really not done a whole lot as a 49er. I mean, he had the one nice play against the Rams, recovered a fumble on Thursday night. But I saw a stat online. Trevis Gipson has 3 pressures on 50 pass rush snaps. It's just not very good. So if you're freaking out about losing Trevis Gipson, I want you to take a deep breath. It'll be okay. You can find another guy like Trevis Gipson elsewhere. You can find a guy on the street to give you that sort of production, right? And the 49ers might be looking for that. They worked out 3 edge rushers on Tuesday, those being Kingsley Jonathan, Andrew Farmer, and former 49er Clelin Ferrell. Now, Ferrell is by far the most interesting of those 3 names to me. He was obviously a starter on this 49ers team back when they went to the Super Bowl. He was a good run defender, not a very good pass rusher. And I think that is probably the most likely candidate for them to sign out of all 3 of them. But then you never know. If he was playing so well, he probably wouldn't be on the street. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. The 49ers have added Keon White. We'll see if they add any of Jonathan Ferrell or Farmer. And I certainly think they should, because their only healthy pass rushers right now are Mykel Williams, Keon White, Robert Beal, and William Bradley King. Now, William Bradley King is on the practice squad, so they have 3 healthy edge rushers on their 53-man roster. That is never a spot that you want to be in. Never. Now, for our last segment, let's talk about it. Are the 49ers done with trades, or do you think they'll make another move at the deadline? Well, I kind of go both ways, right? I think they've added a guy in Keon White who sort of fills a specific niche, right? I think Keon White would fill that sort of Arden Key niche that we've been talking about, like a rotational edge rusher who would play this year and next year. He's still young, right? But the Niners are certainly still looking for a true edge presence, because right now you've got Mykel, you've got Keon White, you've got Yetur Gross-Matos, who's hurt, but he's on the roster. These guys are all inside-out rushers. Their versatility is what makes them great, right? And I think you really need someone to pair with Bryce Huff on the outside to be a true outside threat. The Niners still have plenty of capital. They still have plenty of ammunition. They, swapped a 6th for a 7th round pick for Keon White. So they actually have the same number of draft picks that they did before. So I think they could certainly still make a move. Maybe they'll go get another edge rusher like a Jermaine Johnson. He's certainly my favorite candidate. I think he's the best player who would be realistically available for the 49ers at pass rusher. I'm very curious. I'm not assuming that they will make another trade. I think there is a world where Keon White was their only addition. But I could certainly see them taking a bigger swing, right? I mean, we've seen that before with this team. We've seen them trade 3rd-round picks at the trade deadline to go get a guy like a Chase Young or a Emmanuel Sanders or whoever, right? I could certainly see a move like that coming. I just don't know that I would expect it. But what do you think? Do you think the 49ers are finished, or do you think there's another trade brewing for San Francisco? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, let me know if you enjoyed. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics that you'd like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for subscribing. We're over 400 subscribers. We're doing great on that front. I really appreciate the support. You guys are fantastic. You've been commenting, you've been liking, you've been subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and hit that button. Again, leave a like, leave a comment. I'm Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.